Testing, testing.
1975. This meeting was
Turn your mics on.
adequately noticed. Please rise for a pledge. Pledge of allegiance to the flag. George, would you call the roll?
Me? Okay. George. I'm not used to this because it's usually character. Okay. I'll need your pen, though. Chairman Schatz,
Here.
Councilman Meyer,
Here.
me, I'm here. Commissioner York, excused. Commissioner Sick,
Here.
Commissioner Preminger,
Here.
Commissioner Perez,
Here.
Commissioner Sealand,
Here.
Commissioner Ronka Goldstein. I
Here.
hope I got that right. Mr. McCloskey is also here. No, he's not.
And
And
did you
Mr.
get
Manir
the-
is not here.
Did you get that Carol York was excused?
Right.
Okay, you have before you the minutes of the April meeting.
Did I mention your name?
No,
You're here.
Yeah.
I already wrote it down.
I already figured that. I thought you were giving me a buy on that.
I will entertain a motion to approve the minutes as provided.
So approved.
Who said that? Jim?
Jim,
You did?
Yes.
Who said, make a motion?
that's fine with me.
Jim makes a motion.
Okay.
Do I have a second?
I can second that.
Barbara.
Barbara, second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any abstentions?
Well, Mr. Chairman, I was not.
I think
So I'll
you weren't here last meeting, so you abstain on this. One abstention.
And George.
abstain also.
I don't think you.
I know, but George did.
Do I need to take notes on it?
Before we get into the rest of the agenda, I'd like to call up our city attorney to talk about,
Could we ask for the city manager to give a quick report about the sidewalk program? He has to go to another meeting afterwards.
okay, come on.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I have the county commissioners meeting at 3, so I got to scoot up there for their meeting. I just wanted to give you an update on the sidewalk project. We're moving through that, and just based on timing, we're anticipating finalizing the design over the next month or two and have the project ready to go out to bid for a September, October start so that we can have most of that project work done before the winter break where they can't do any concrete work. And we've been keeping a list. Connie's been sending me over requests of, projects and sidewalks that are impacted by street trees, and we'll be adding those on as we, I'll kind of keep a running list, and right up to that project gets out to bid, we'll add those sidewalks as we get closer.
Manager Dietrich, will it be part of the specs, how we'd like the sidewalks to arch around the trees and how they will not
Yeah,
affect the roots?
yeah, we'll detail that in that spec. So anytime we're around the street tree to curve around and bow around those, the trees to give them a little more space, not to kind of hug the tree and crowd them, yes.
I didn't get all that. You haven't let a contract off yet?
No, we're going to let the contract in the fall.
So not going to be any work done till the fall.
I'm not going to start doing sidewalk work in the city at this point it's too hard to do work on people's properties. You know, I can't get, there's too many cars parked in the street, I can't get to the sidewalks.
Tourists are here.
And there's just too many people around to do work in there. So the work will be done in the fall.
Well, the only thing is, it was considered the time we lost where 2 or 3 contractors, the way we had it under the 50/50 program, could have been working all winter. And they could have most of the sidewalks that were applied for done by now.
Well, unfortunately, but due to budgetary constraints, the city's got to look at the most prudent financial way to do this work, and doing this as a larger project within the city was the most cost advantageous for the city. So that's why we had to do it that way.
The city's going to pay.
I mean, if the homeowner wants to do the sidewalks themselves, they can do a 100-100 program where they pay 100% of it and they can replace it. If they want to choose to cost share the project with the city,
Is the city gonna
then we're doing it as part of a procurement project that is
Is
financially.
the city going to pay for the whole thing?
No.
So we're going to go 50/50?
Yep.
Okay, all right.
Yep.
We want the opportunity to talk to the contractor, to warn them about routes, not cut.
Yeah, I just talked, yep, Shane just mentioned that.
Okay. All right.
Okay?
Okay, sounds good.
Thank-
Before you're dismissed, I have
Yes.
2 questions for you.
Yep.
The Franklin Street project, do you have any idea when they're going to be putting those trees in?
So the foundry, when the material supplier didn't send enough of the tree grates, so we don't want to plant the trees until we have the tree grates. So he's just waiting for delivery of the final tree grates, and then once he has all the tree grates, then he'll plant the trees.
Okay. And as far as the parking lot out here, is that project completed now? Or is
We
that-
still have to plant a tree,
Right.
but
And
the
the one
paving
tree-
work is done, yes.
So the one tree, I know that one tree was cut down because the stump is still there. The other tree was supposed to be relocated, but that was not done then? It was a
We
large.
could, it was a large tree, we couldn't relocate the tree, we had to put in a new tree, because if you go out and look at the markouts out there, there's actually a gas line that runs through that island location and makes a turn, so we couldn't dig a hole large enough to replant that tree
Okay.
because of the gas line location.
Okay, yeah, I thought that was going to be moved, but that wasn't.
That was the intention,
Okay.
was to move it, yes.
I just wasn't sure if I just
But
didn't know
physically,
where it was.
we couldn't relocate it into that hole because of
Yeah.
that.
Okay. That's all I have. For you, anyway.
Anybody else have any questions?
Thank you.
No problem. And just to be, so the nature trails will
Yeah.
probably be open towards he's going to be done, probably work this month, but we're probably going to wait until the opening closer to July 4th as we tie it into the Lafayette Street Park Phase 1 project. So probably by the end of June, the Nature Trails project back in through the marsh will be opened up for that. All right?
I'd like you to consider any movement, if it does come about, of the space tree out here.
Not going to be this year.
It would be put in the park itself.
Yes.
Not way off in right field.
Of course not. Of course.
Okay.
Yep.
And the shade tree will take responsibility for the maintenance of the trees in the park, in the Lafayette Street Park. Mm-hmm. All right, okay.
Yes. All right. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. Chris Gillen Schwartz. I'm the city solicitor. Good to see everybody. I was asked to come by the commission today just to talk about a small committee discussion that I had with some members of the Shade Tree Commission about potentially updating the shade tree ordinance to update the procedures in there. And just to talk with you all about what those amendments might look like. And I prepared a draft, sort of red line copy of what could potentially be presented to City Council and circulated that to the subgroup. But I can go over some of the highlights of what that might entail. And I'll say at the outset, this is geared towards maybe providing you all with a little bit of a streamlined process to comb through the applications that you may receive. If volume goes up, this would give you sort of a, similar to what the HPC does. They have these small committee reviews, and that helps. If you looked at an HPC agenda, there is a list of approved and review applications, and those are sort of the minor applications that come before HPC, you know, roofing, want to replace a window here, replace siding there. That's the kind of stuff that can be approved pretty quickly to keep things moving efficiently. But something bigger, that gets sent to the whole board, and then you have a hearing and that whole process. So it's not a complete apples-to-apples comparison to what the Shade Tree Commission does, but there may be an opportunity to streamline some of your procedures and provide some efficiency and emergency removal where you might find those circumstances are present. So we already have a dangerous condition removal in the current code without any amendment. It allows the code enforcement officer, deputy code enforcement officer, any member of the Shade Tree Commission to go out there, and if they determine and see a dangerous condition out there, you can authorize immediate removal. There's a post-event application requirement in the code now, and one of the things we discussed is maybe that is more cumbersome than necessary under the circumstances. If you have an emergency dangerous condition, maybe you want a commissioner, a ward member, whatever, to be able to go out there, make the observation, and then you can review and assess, and if it's okay and it's deemed to be a dangerous or emergent condition, it could be potentially an email to the board secretary to confirm that that review happened, and at least there's some record of it. So, you know, on X date, I went out, I looked at it, I saw a power line clearly blew up this tree, or a truck crashed into, whatever. You know, it's just some observation and confirmation that that condition was present. And then it also, we could update this to provide, so you wouldn't have to do a application after the fact, you would just determine whether an emergent condition is present or not. And if any member or person going out there has any doubt, or doesn't think that, or may see conditions that looks like it's self-created, or it's not really an emergent or dangerous condition, you just send it to the full board. So it's not necessarily a no at that stage, but no to emergent removal, but they could still make an application in the normal course, come before the whole board and say, hey, I really got to take this tree out, and present whatever those reasons are at that time. So that would give sort of confirm a sort of a quicker emergent condition removal, and then eliminate the after-the-fact application requirement for those cases. The second thing, major change worth noting here is applicants will be required to submit a photo of a tree in connection with an application. I'm sure that happens here or there. Some people do, some people don't, but for you all in the different areas of town that you have to look over, it makes a whole lot of sense that you would just take a picture of the tree and submit it with the application to give everybody a sense of, okay, flip to page 4, here's the picture of the tree. Every application would have that, so you know what you're dealing with. The other thing is, one of the things to do in advance of a meeting is this is a suggestion, and again, these are all things that you all can talk about and decide whether you want to recommend, but I just want to suggest a framework for an amendment. But to facilitate the efficient processing of the various removal applications you may get, each ward commissioner could provide a recommendation for the applications that come in. So Ward 3 gets an application to remove a giant maple tree, and you know, that ward commissioner can review that and provide the recommendation, either approving or denying that, or maybe no recommendation, in which case it just goes to the whole board. But that might allow you to comb through the applications that you get through, and then you can have potentially a consent agenda of, you know, applications that are either approved or denied on a consent agenda, and then leaving open the ability for any board member that has any questions about any of those applications to pull them for discussion by the full board. But if you all are on the same page about 9 out of 10 of them, then they can all be on the consent agenda. And 9 out of 10 could be, I don't think that tree should come out, or, I think it's appropriate that the tree comes out. It's just whatever the recommendation is. And then ultimately leaving that vote to the full board when it comes here, and you can have all these consent applications on one packet, and then you have a regular agenda with maybe items that are maybe in dispute, or there's some doubt about, or somebody has legitimate questions about, and then you can just freely discuss that as board members. But one thing about the recommendation and consent application, or consent approval, would be that it's important that if it is a recommendation, that there be some basis for that. So if you're a ward member that is, commissioner that is recommending removal or denial, it should be noted, why, state your reasons. And again, so that we have a record of why this decision was made. And that goes back to the emergency removal, even an email to the board secretary in that case, in the emergent removal, just so we have some basis for, why emergent removal is warranted, or why I'm recommending removal or non-removal in this case. So just highlighting the importance at each step of stating your reasons, because ultimately, as a board, you are making these decisions, and it could be, as you know, potentially reviewed by the city manager, and he's going to need a reason for what the decision-making was.
That's also important, because if the homeowner disagrees with our decision, the next step is the city manager. And if with a paper trail of our approvals and the reasons why is necessary, to provide that to the city manager to help him make a decision on the appeal. All right.
And then the last thing is the decision-making timeline under the building permit requirements. It's 45 calendar days from when the applicant submits a complete application. Currently, in the shade tree ordinance, we have a decision reviewed, approved, or denied, and a decision issued within 5 business days of the Shade Tree Commission meeting where the application was reviewed. I suggest just giving yourselves a firm timeline for when these come in and issuing a decision. So, and this would be from when a complete application is submitted, not piecemeal. I dropped off the application this day, I brought in the check the following week. Like, applicants, like any other board, need to submit a complete packet to the board secretary, and then you're deemed complete. 45 days from that point is when a decision should be issued, and that should give you all time to review and get it scheduled for a monthly meeting. So that just sort of buttons up some of and clarifies some of the things that were included in that ordinance that everybody worked on and came up with a revised shade tree ordinance.
And this whole vote by the commission on tree removal, whether it's a city tree, obviously, or a private property tree, this could be considered, have to be in the ordinance, so we would have to submit to city council to change our ordinance as described. However, once we get into more normal circumstances, we can ask to rescind that part of the ordinance after a certain period of time, if things seem to be working out okay, and give it back to the commissioners, their responsibility on private property trees. In the future, I mean, this is I won't say temporary. This will be this will be the whole vote of the commission on any tree removal. I consider should be only temporary for a certain period of time.
So, right, the way that the ordinance is currently, this is without the amendments. If you look at the code today online and the one that was drafted, that's the way it's framed now, which is that all shade tree applications, big or small, if it's a tree, the board's going to make a collective decision on those applications. And hearing that concern from some of the board members, one of the things that you can do is try and get ahead of the volume that you may experience as a commission, and try and kind of funnel you may get, 20 applications a month, and 3 of them might be difficult, and the rest of them might be really straightforward. And this would provide an additional it's not like rewriting the whole thing, it's just adding some procedural steps to help trim some of the application herd.
Can I
On
add
page
something?
6, on page 6 at the top, in event the applicant wishes to remove a tree or trees as described, applicant shall then be required to plant 2 trees for each tree removed. In East Cape May, that's the area east of Madison Avenue, that area, the lot sizes, the floor area ratio has been increased on the lot sizes. And a lot of times, there's no place to put 2 trees for every one removed. I'd like that, unless anybody's objection, change that to be replace 3 for tree,
So-
not 2 trees.
One of the things to that point is, and that we made sure to include in, this is in the current ordinance, is later in that paragraph, it recognizes that, quote, "There may be circumstances in which these general guidelines for replacement are unworkable due to unique conditions affecting land. The Shade Tree Commission may determine the appropriate replacement obligation balancing the purposes of tree protection with the general guidelines for replacement contained herein." So in other words, that two for one is a guideline in here, then in the absence of specific, application, you can rely on that. But if you look at a particular property in a particular part of town that needs a different outcome,
Right.
that discretion is for the board to make as a unit. So on that, that's precisely why you probably want a lot of these to come to the board and review them, because you can do that kind of problem solving at the table.
Absolutely. That makes
And you have the flexibility to do that as a board.
The tree bank. That would be an application if the people can't plant 4 trees on their property for one reason or another. We've have a tree bank in, and I think right now is that people can apply to put an application fee in for tree bank of $200 a tree. I'm not exactly sure where that number came from. I know you can't buy a tree for $200, but just don't want to have a homeowner have to pay $400 or $500 for a tree replacement. If we get enough of these $200 things in, we can.
Well, I don't know. I think that's something, I don't exactly agree with that, because there's no way that you can, we not only have to purchase the tree, we have to plant the tree. And the minimal purchase recently is about $200 to $250 per tree just to purchase. Planting, it costs approximately another $200 to $250. So it's going to have to be a larger amount than that, but I don't know if there's anything that we don't have that specifically in the ordinance at this point,
I
as
think,
far as money amounts.
I think on the last go-around, I'm pretty sure that idea was floated, but
Right.
because of it not being fully flushed out, what we would do with the money at that point, it was kind of left for later discussion. And in its place, I think we landed on, at least my own recollection was.
That replacement
Yeah, and then
cost.
allowing the board the flexibility in a particular, relying on these general guidelines, but,
Yeah.
right.
I think that would have to come up at a subcommittee meeting and see if we could
And I think that's.
formulate a tree bank. We don't have a so-called tree bank at this point.
But if a proposal for that, and there's some concept that's workable to the board, and you want to present to council, we can certainly revisit that in the future. It doesn't have to be tackled today, but it
Right.
can be something
Yeah.
that you all talk about in the future.
Okay.
Takes down a tree, they say you have to replace it.
So where are we with this?
I just want to bring up something. Does everybody understand the consent agenda, what that means? So if you look at your agenda here, see 1, 2, 3, after the roll call or after the approval of minutes, you'll see a list of all the trees that were either approved or denied for that month. And next to that list, you'll have whether the recommendations and approval or denial by the commissioner. So that gives an opportunity for every one of you to check and balance each other. You can say, well, whoever, I think that 10 trees is a little excessive. Can I look at this application? Can we talk about it? So when we get to the consent agenda, somebody will say, does anybody want an application removed from the consent agenda? Once that's removed, we'll vote on the rest of them together in one big package, and when only the things we want to discuss separately, we'll discuss and then vote separately. So we're not here going over every single application. And this way, it's a full body vote, and it's for the records. And I think, if I can continue, some of the things that we discussed was adding some language to the application, so it's clearer for the applicants, and it's easier for Connie to explain these things. And some of the things were to add a photograph to the application. It discusses the $75 application fee, then it discusses the $75 permit fee, if you're approved. And it talks about the tree replacement in here. So a lot of the information that people need without having to look up the code is right here on this application.
Also in the 45 days, Shane. I think
And the
that's-
45-day. And here's the other thing, folks. It says in this application that you have 1 year to plant the replacement trees. That kind of falls on the commissioner to kind of remember that, you know? So, you know, I guess if we give a couple months, we can give them a reminder in the mail or something, but that's another little extra duty that you have to kind of remember or keep in the back of your head, if that's okay.
I think Counselor Gillen Schwartz and Connie Anderson did a great job on this in a short period of time.
Thank you.
I'd like to say a couple of things, because you just mentioned about each person has their district, that they have to go and take a look at the tree. So in the last couple of weeks, everybody has been doing that and making a write-up and sending it to Connie, so that they are giving their opinion. And now we're talking about the whole commission to be able to approve of what that district commissioner wants to do or writes about. And then how are we going to determine, in other words, are we going to have a special, every meeting, we are going to go through all the things that the commissioner has written about that particular tree, and whether the other commissioners agree or disagree?
Only if it's taken off the consent agenda.
Sorry?
Only if it's taken off the consent agenda. So in city council, we have all the resolutions.
Okay.
And we'll package them all into one vote, unless somebody wants to remove something because they have a question about it.
Okay.
That's exactly how we're going to relate this. It's going to be one big package. If there's anything that sticks out,
Okay.
we want to talk about, that's the only time we'll pull it out of.
Because it sounded a little complicated, you know, for what's going on right now with each person making a decision in their district, and then everybody else having to approve or disapprove or whatever is going to be.
You'll be making a recommendation to the commission, and this is how, it's pretty, we're trying to make this uniform with other boards and commissions and city council agendas.
I'll give you like a couple examples in practice of how this should work out under this draft. So let's take the emergency example first. We have a hurricane or a tropical storm, and there's clearly a uprooted tree laying in somebody's yard after a storm we all know happened, with roots in the air, ripped up. Any commissioner should be able to go out to that property, observe those conditions, observe the obvious fact that a storm just happened, and that, you know, okay, this tree fell and it's an emergency condition, get it out of the yard.
Understood.
In that case, that's a, you know, the applicant has to reach out to the city, and then the commissioner could go out and observe that, and a brief report to the secretary indicating on X date I went out, observed it, we obviously had a storm, I observed roots, and even a picture would be great too in that case, but maybe the applicant would provide in that. But in that case, if that email confirmation, that observation is made, they wouldn't have to do an after-the-fact application. That would be, you know, that's just a unique condition. But those should be the exception to the rule. We shouldn't get in the habit of emergency conditions. So you should, and because that would be approval without the full board. So you want to make sure that those conditions are obvious and not subject to dispute. Then the second scenario is somebody's just bought a property and they want to put a pool in. And there's a huge tree in the backyard in the middle of that, where that pool would be. And, you know, the commissioner goes out, observes that. There's no storm, there's no emergency condition, there's no turned over truck in the back of the yard. There's just a tree where they want to build a pool. That's the kind of run-of-the-mill application that really should come before this full board. And, and the applicant always has the burden to present to you, the commission shall be, this is 482-6, you have the grant or denial of permit and the standards. The commission satisfied that the removal is required for effective utilization of the lands in question and no alternative to removal is available. The commission satisfied that the removal shall not impair the growth and development of the remaining trees on the lands where the proposed trees are located, as well as on adjacent lands. The commission satisfied that adequate precautions shall be taken with respect to the removal of the tree or trees, so that trees will not be damaged by removal and roots and so on and so forth. So you have these standards, and so, but that type of application could come into the board with a recommendation of one commissioner for that ward. And you could say, hey, look, I went out there and I looked at it, and I think it meets the standards for X, Y, Z reasons. And then that could end up on the consent agenda, but it could be pulled by any other member, because at that point, they should have a photo of that tree, and they may say, hey, why does that need to be taken out? Or don't you have other areas of the yard that you can use? And these are all questions that should be answered by the board collectively.
Right.
And you make a record on it. But if it doesn't, at least if it's on the consent agenda, it isn't removed, it's because two things happened. All of the board got a copy of the application and the potential recommendation stating the reasons for removal or denial, and a picture of the tree, so you all have a chance to like flip through and see, okay, yeah, I see that, next one. You have that information so that there is a record of you considering, the application. It just allows you kind of not skim, but the ones that may not be in dispute for the whole board, you can have a consent agenda and work through your agenda in an orderly manner. You don't have to do it this way, but this is one option of kind of making it more efficient. But also, the brakes on that are any one member can pull something off and say, we got to talk about this as a group.
Thank you.
So if there are any other questions from the board, I'm happy to answer them now. Procedurally, the next step would be for Councilman Meyer and I to present. If the board is in favor of this amendment, Councilman Meyer and I could make a presentation to all of council that, the Shade Tree Commission is in support of these amendments, and that would go through the ordinance process.
Do we have any other comments or any other board member? Or should we ask the city attorney and Councilman Meyer to go ahead and submit this change?
I make a motion that it be submitted.
Does that,
I think it has to come
does
as a
that include
motion.
the tree bank discussion, or should we hold off
I
on
think
that?
the tree bank discussion is going to have to come to a subcommittee so that we can get everything in order before we, do
That's fine.
you know what I mean? Because we don't really have language about that yet.
We have no requirement for a homeowner to give us money for a tree bank right now till we come up with an adequate fund.
Was there a
And
second?
it's a two-for-one takedown, okay? And if you can't get them on the property for one reason or another, then it's up to the board to make a decision to let them do one for one, or even plant a street tree someplace.
Right.
But that would be our decision at the time. All right. So are we in,
Do you want to make a vote?
I made a motion that
do I have a
that
second on sending this to city
I
council?
George
second.
Warner seconded.
George 1 and George 2.
Yeah.
Before you take a vote on that, if I may, I just want to make sure that the board secretary doesn't have any questions about this. Is there? Okay. Okay.
All those in favor of submitting this proposed changes to our ordinance signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Here you go.
Okay. Well,
Go ahead.
Councilman Meyer and I will run with this. Thank you very much.
Thank you very
Yeah,
much.
it wasn't too painful, right? Thank you.
Thank you, Solicitor.
All right, we have some guests in the audience. You, sir? Yes, come on up.
Wait a minute.
Oh, York, okay, Carol.
Wait.
Oh, this is the guy that.
Yes,
Mr. Keough is supposed to be here for an appeal on the decision. I
okay.
don't know, but
Press that button until it goes green. There you go.
Thanks. So I've been a homeowner for 27 years in Cape May, but this is my first interaction with the Shade Tree Commission.
We'll try not to scare you or maim you.
Well, 30 minutes in, I'm a little worried, but I think I'll be okay.
I'm sorry, we had to put this, normally we would take the guests right away, but we had
It was interesting, no worries.
city manager and an expensive lawyer here, so.
I so totally understand. I'm retired, so I've got some wiggle room.
What can we do for you?
So, again, in 27 years, there's been this overgrown growth in the corner of my property.
What's the property address?
It's 1309 Maryland Avenue.
Okay.
And, we've never really paid any attention to it, but we're looking to replace our shed with a larger shed. It's in the way, so we've been looking into removing it. And so I submitted the application, and I came to realize when I guess the volunteer, the member of the commission that came out, I don't see him. Oh, there you are. I don't recognize you without your Hawaiian shirt on.
It was a Sunday.
Here it is.
So,
Sorry.
we came to realize after looking at it that these trees are actually on what appears to be my neighbor's property. It was hard to see where the tree emerges because it's so overgrown.
With ivy.
With ivy and whatnot. And also, something that that we didn't talk about, but, I did speak to the homeowner
On the other side.
on the other side, and, I realized that, and he said to me, look, he's got a fence and a shed. This, as far as he's concerned, there's no, I think he recognizes that they're on his property, but he has no desire to keep them. He, in fact, has agreed with me and my next-door neighbor on Maryland that we would all chip in for the removal because this ivy is now taking over and destroying some of the landscaping trees in my neighbor's property, and it was also creating damage to the owner's shed because the ivy is so intrusive.
Well, ivy is certainly a cheaper way to removal of a healthy tree, to take ivy,
Here it is, yeah.
cut it at the ground level and up 3 feet. It's going to look like heck for 2 years until that ivy dies on the tree. But, that'll eventually.
I'm trying to, the primary objective here is to clear what we all believe is nuisance dead trees that are overrun by ivy.
Who's this?
Sir, did you file this application?
I did, and, he mentioned to me that because at the time, I thought they were on my property, because they're so close to the line. But, you helped me say, you know what, it looks like they emerge from the ground just on the other side of my property line. And so I spoke to Jason, the owner, and, to my rear, and he said, hey, let me know what I need to do. He's not there very often, and I am. So I said I'd come into the meeting, we'd see, what's the best way to approach this.
So whose tree is this?
Apparently, it's his tree. He doesn't know from that. He's been there for 5 or 6 years. I've been there for 27 years. And there are 6 of these trees, apparently. I went back and I looked again. There are 6 trees. Hard to measure the width of the
diameter.
The diameter, thank you, because first, they're hard to get to, because there's so much
Is it
overgrowth.
is it a
And
multi-trunk?
they're wrapped up in vines.
Is it a?
If I may?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
please.
please.
So, right off the bat, I do concur with Mr. Fink. I do make a recommendation that Jason Fronio at 1308 Idaho submit an application, just so we can, we go to the proper property owner and then go from there. I will tell you that the ivy has taken over any life of the vegetation inside. It's got to be 18 inches course of English ivy. These trees are serving as basically tent poles for a canopy of ivy.
Where's the other guy?
It's,
He doesn't care.
the trees are not viable.
And the trees are what species? Are they arborvitae or are they deciduous?
They're arborvitaes, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's hard to tell because it's not.
I'm telling you.
The only growth you see is the ivy.
There's got to be course of English ivy like this, and it's just hard to get.
Is the homeowner willing to put an application in?
Yes, yeah, look, this all happened in the last few days, right? So when I updated him after we talked on Sunday, I said, look, there's a meeting on Tuesday, I'll go to the meeting, we'll get a better handle on this thing. And he said, great, just let me know, and we'll do whatever we need to do.
He needs to get an.
Are you, so the,
An application in from the homeowner?
and there's 6 trees on this application.
Yes, well, it wasn't then, but now I realized, I went back and counted. So there are 6 of these, what I'll call large dead stumps.
So, 1, your neighbor has to put in the application. 2, if you're going to put the 6 trees, you got to put in your reason why for 6 trees. And 3, is your neighbor willing to plant 2 trees per 12 trees in replacement?
So I don't understand why, and again, I'm speaking for Jason, right? It's his call. But
We're here to,
these trees are adding no shade or other redeeming value to
well,
any of the four
it's
crops.
unfortunate that the ivy hasn't been taken care of years and years ago.
Decades ago.
Okay. That's unfortunate that was the case. The purpose of us all being here together is to save trees and promote trees. We're a shade tree city for the last 40 years. It brings the beauty to Cape May, and I'm sure there's a lot of people that would just like to get rid of all their trees, and that's the only reason that we exist here, is to save the trees. So that's a serious conversation you have to have with your neighbor.
Right.
And if you don't want to plant those trees, the commission as a board, as a group, can decide how many trees that you're willing to take down, 1, and how many trees that you should replace them with. And if you don't want to replace those trees with that amount, you're going to have to pay a certain fee to our tree bank.
Ah, the tree bank, I heard that discussion.
I think that's a very good summation, Council.
So we get to start the tree bank that doesn't exist yet? Is
I
that
think
what-
let's start with the homeowner making an application.
I'm sorry, yes, I'm being like snarky, I apologize. That's fine. Right now, those trees are damaging other very viable trees that are, now, being strangled as well. And this is the neighbor at 1311 Maryland. This is my next-door neighbor, not my backyard neighbor. So we're all have an interest in getting this pest, I mean, to me, these are not viable trees, they're dead trees. And they've been dead for a long time. But again, I guess is that, when Jason submits his application, does that mean we go through a more, I'll say, structured and directed conversation around that application?
That's correct.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
And I would think at this point, since we're talking that number of trees, I think we're going to, not that I disagree with your assessment, Jim, but I think that's going to have to be another situation where most commission members go out and take a look at that.
And we'd like to see some photos, too, for our record.
Yeah, I do have some, I know you took some photos, I have
How
some.
many
did.
trees are involved?
Again,
6.
it appears there are 6 of these trees that are all, kind of buried in the ivy. But again, when I went in, it was hard to tell because I see other shorter stumps coming up, but I think they're just old branches, but I can't, again, it's very hard to decipher. Jim?
Yes.
Yeah, Jim,
So that's why I think we
I
should
think
vote.
you would agree, it was
Yeah.
hard to sort out.
The type of tree we're talking about
Let's
here
continue.
is,
Yeah.
Some kind of evergreen?
Yeah, I believe it was an arborvitae. Again, it was
these trees that were initially planted to have a privacy barrier there, or?
It predates the presence of all of the property owners that are there. It's just been there. Now, what it appears to be is, yeah, it appears that there's a row of, let's call it arborvitaes, that are at the back of Jason's property. But I don't even think he believed that they were his, because, you know, they're so close to the line, and I guess he didn't understand. He has since then put up a shed and a fence with a 10-foot setback. So these trees are 10 feet away, or five-foot setback. These trees are 5 feet away from any of his visibility, you know what I mean? Because it's all kind of out of his living space, and it's now in mine, basically. But it still doesn't change the fact that they appear to be on his property, and therefore, you know, in order for you guys to take action, you're going to need
Right.
I'll say a proper application.
And I think the commission would waive the application fee, wouldn't we?
Well, it's $175 application fee.
Well, he
And if
put-
we
he
give
already paid-
approval For 6,
He already paid the application fee. Once his neighbor puts in the application, we'll waive that fee, correct?
if we give approval to take all 6 trees down, it's.
No, this is, he's talking about the trees that we're speaking about are not on Mr. Fisk's property. They're on a different person's property, but they're at the back of his. They're basically a border. So the other person needs to file an application for removal. But since Mr. Fisk already paid $75 for this application, that other person shouldn't have to pay.
That's correct.
Yeah,
So
he'll
we'll-
submit an application, you know,
Yeah.
and I'll
Okay.
I'll cover his application. Yeah, but by the way, just one other thing, because you were asking about where, was this originally a screen? Apparently it was, but again, over the years, what's happened is, again, he's built stuff in the back of his property, so he doesn't need a screen. The backyard neighbors, the other backyard neighbors have a fence, and they have like 30-foot tall trees that they replanted in the last like 8 or 10 years. That's their privacy screen. We're putting a shed in, that's our, you know what I mean? So these trees in and of themselves have no value. But I understand that even though they're dead, and even though they're potentially a nuisance, you know, I thought that part of your, the Shade Tree Commission's charter, if you will, or mission, is to protect, you know,
Existing trees.
healthy, you know, to make sure that trees are healthy. These are not healthy, and it's affecting the health of other trees that are healthy, or that will be, as if we can get rid of these things. So, you know, I thought it would be in the interest of improving the overall health, as opposed to getting hung up on swapping 6 dead old trees for 12. You know, where do we put all these trees?
Well, I think the other side of the argument is that it's the homeowner's responsibility to maintain their trees before it gets to that point. You know, that's, and then if anybody's out there listening, get rid of that ivy as soon as you can, just like Jay said, from the bottom 3 feet up all the way around. It will look terrible for a couple of years, but it won't choke out your tree.
No, yeah,
And you know, and the same one, the same side on this argument is that if people go out there and poison their trees, you know, they're also not only maintaining them, they're killing their trees, or not maintaining them, they're killing the trees. So we don't want to,
yeah.
it's a responsibility of homeowners to make sure that these trees are healthy, so we don't get to this point.
Well, again,
Unfortunately, we'll have to make a decision.
Jason's been there for 5 years. These were long gone before that, and I don't even think he knew it. But, you know, ignorance might not be, you know, a defense, but.
Right. Well, thank you very much
All
for
right.
your time, and
Thank you all for your time. I appreciate that.
we as a commission will have to take a look at that. Thank you.
As soon as he comes in, we'll work on it as fast as you want us to.
What are we doing now?
Jay, we have Mr. Kehoe, and thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Kehoe's a guest here.
The what?
Mr. Kehoe is in the audience as
Oh,
a
okay.
guest. Would you like to come forward?
Oh, that's the one.
Thank you for your patience.
Yeah. Is he the one that doesn't?
And if you would just turn on your microphone. Thank you.
Oh, there we go.
There we go.
Okay. All right. My name's John Kehoe. My address is 1256 Missouri. And I had put in an application to take down a tree that's, it's been, I've been working with the tree barber to try to save it, but it hadn't been doing well. So this year, he took a look at it, and he said it needed to come down. It was unsafe. So I'm just here today asking for the removal fee to be waived, since I really don't have a choice. I'd rather keep the tree, but, the tree wobbles pretty good in the wind, so.
What kind of trees?
Google says it's a black plum. I'm not a tree
It's a
guy.
purple leaf plum. I saw it, I didn't see the tree itself, I just saw photos, yeah. That's Carol York's district.
Yeah.
And her recommendation was, I believe, to remove but replant somewhere. So the recommendation that you were given was to remove and then replant
Yeah.
another tree? And you're not in favor of planting another tree? Is that part of the issue?
I don't, but my wife does, so it looks like we'll plant another tree, so, yeah. We have planted a couple trees years ago. Does that count?
Well, technically, no.
Technically, no, okay. I just thought I'd ask,
Yeah.
so.
But sir, you asked, I think I heard you correctly, you asked for a waiver of this
The removal fee.
removal fee.
I did, yeah,
George, turn your mic on.
yeah.
Hardship,
No, I just think that that I have to remove it. I think it's going to fall down and potentially hit the neighbor's house.
Okay.
And so because I don't have a choice, if I had a choice, I'd keep it. I've been working with the tree barber. I inherited the tree. He's pruned it a few times to keep it alive and keep it going. And I've done a couple recommendations. He said, he gave me these spikes that you put in the ground to try to help it, which didn't help the tree, but it helped the yew next to it. The yew went nuts next to it. But because I can't save it, I don't think I should have to pay the removal fee.
fair enough.
I don't know. I'm not sure that we have that jurisdiction to waive that fee. Would we, under our
I don't
ordinance?
think we do.
It's in the code.
That we-
You'd have to have a really, really good decision, otherwise you'd be creating a precedence.
It's in
Should,
our ordinance.
I mean, would we take a vote on this, just to reaffirm our,
I guess we're going to have to put it to a vote, because I don't know how we would skirt around that. I mean, the only time we waive the fee is if the tree is actually dead. I mean, then we've waived the fee sometimes in the past, but I don't even
Or if
know
it's
that
been
we've,
knock- or if it's
or if it's
been
knocked
knocked
over
over
or
in
something
a
like
storm
that.
or
But
something like that.
so far, that tree is still alive from the assessment that I read.
Yeah, I don't know how it is. I mean, I submitted a picture showing the base of it is half rotted.
I think the state says if it's imminent,
So,
Well, I think the other option is
Imminent
if he
danger.
gets a professional, if he pays for a professional to say it's dead, then we could remove it, but either way, he's paying a fee for it.
He can pay more for a professional to say that it's dead than the $75. That's the problem. That would probably be at least $150.
yeah. Well, should we vote on this request?
Yeah, I think we should, if somebody wants to make a motion on this request.
So how would?
Usually, when you give if you think the body is going to vote in a negative, either way, the vote should be made in the positive. So, as an example, I make a motion to waive the fee, and then everybody can either vote yes or no.
Right.
So would that be the language you would recommend, Councilman?
That's what I would recommend.
Who wants to make that proposal?
I
Anybody
will
wants
make
to make?
that motion.
Okay.
We retain a motion.
We need, I just.
George just made the motion that we waive the fee. We have to vote in favor or against.
Is there a second?
Only $175 fee? or-
Yes. All those in favor?
No, we need a second.
We need a second. Who would like to second George's proposal? Do you have a question?
No,
I'm sorry.
yes, I needed you to reframe that. We are taking the vote on whether or not.
On allowing the waiver of the $75 fee.
I think you should do it individually.
Not the application fee,
Yes.
not the application fee, just
Right, just the removal fee.
So then a yes vote would signify give a waiver, a no vote would be no waiver.
Right.
Well, we're given approval then to remove this tree, right?
We're not there yet.
We're not even at
not
that
there yet.
point
We're-
yet. This is about the fee.
The tree's been approved to be removed. She's approved it.
So then I should have-
It's the actual
Fee.
for the permit, the actual permit.
So the tree, the Carol York assessed the tree.
Right.
She gave approval for its removal.
Okay.
Now, what we're voting on is this waiver of the $75 additional fee. Mr. Kehoe put in a $75 application,
Oh, yeah, I
but now, the additional $75 fee to remove the tree. He's asking for a waiver. So George made a motion. Commissioner Warner, would you restate your motion?
You said-
Yeah, wait a minute.
Made a motion to, George made a motion
I don't know
to
who seconded
wait.
Nobody seconded it yet. Who
No, nobody
the motion?
seconded.
Yeah, I did
Does
not.
anybody have a
We need
second
a
the motion?
on the
I
motion.
can make a second on the motion.
Barbara makes a
All right, a no vote means no waiver of fee. A yes vote means a waiver of the fee. So everybody should probably go down the line.
All right.
Yes,
Yes.
would you please?
All right, all those in favor of...
No, Jay,
Well, no, we're doing,
No, no,
we're going to do it by roll call.
Yes or no, Chairman Schatz?
What do you say? Waive the fee or no?
Yeah, waive the fee.
Vice Chairman Tour,
No.
Commissioner Sick,
No.
Commissioner Preminger,
Yes.
Commissioner Werner,
No.
Commissioner Perez,
No.
Commissioner Sealand,
No.
and Commissioner Goldstein.
No.
6 to 2.
So I got 4 to 3,
6 to 2.
6 to 2.
So the fee will have to be paid.
Okay.
No, no, no.
Thank you.
No, George.
I don't know.
My dear, are you here for,
No.
you here for an appeal?
That's my mom.
Oh, nice.
Oh,
Do today.
folks, he already left the room, but I think we should have discussed a little bit about what kind of tree we wanted him to replace it with. And by the
Well-
way, the code says 2 trees.
I know. Well, the thing of it is, we have that tree list now, correct?
That's right. Cool. Thank
Okay.
you, Connie.
I think it was,
I don't
bringing up
quite
that
get why
precedent
we
was
just-
a great idea.
Voted on that either.
I don't quite get why we just voted on that. Isn't that part of our ordinance?
That's part of our
Are we
ordinance, that's what I'm
disrupting the ordinances then to give special
We can't give special consideration.
permission
that-
to?
I totally agree with you, but, I mean, we did what we could through that process.
It-
Taxpayer had a question.
Right, and it's a public
Taxpayer
meeting,
made a
so.
request, and we answered the taxpayer's request.
And then, exactly, and to continue our discussion about the language in the code, we, in our subcommittee, discussed waiving the permit fee, the second fee, for dead trees.
no.
But we discussed that that's not mentioned in our code. You have to pay for it whether it's dead or not.
No.
Because you know what? Somebody could have tried to kill that tree.
No.
Yeah.
Or somebody
We
didn't
have-
maintain
we
the
have
tree.
not- for a tree to be determined by the commissioner and/or all of us to be determined to be DED, dead, you shouldn't have to pay another $75
no.
to remove a dead tree.
But that's not what it says in the code.
No,
The code says you have to pay the fee.
Shane, I recently had a tree in my yard. I paid the application fee. It was determined dead, and then I paid another $75
That's-
so that we could remove it.
That's the way our code
That's the way
stands.
it's supposed to be
That's the
done.
way the code's written. That's the law.
We shouldn't give waivers. That's my opinion. I'm just a liaison. I'm not a voting member.
Unless it's a
If you,
hardship.
how do you stop it once you start?
Exactly. Just like Jim said, we don't want to create precedences.
No, that,
And you know, and it gives a window for us to be, to violate, or the reason why we're here. We don't want to give special favors to people.
And notwithstanding the fact that we spent the first 45 minutes of this meeting talking about approving new fees and reaffirming those fees.
Right.
Okay, let's go. Let's
It
move
makes
on.
our mission more viable, too.
Yes,
Let's move on.
credibility to what we're doing.
that was my first vote. That was fun.
So let's, yeah, we're going to go vote on the street removal request
Okay.
that Mr. Ator motioned, and Commissioner seconded.
We just never took a vote.
Now, can I vote on it even though I wasn't here? Probably not.
Well, it's a basic commission thing. so I
Yeah,
guess-
Yeah.
it's okay, we have,
Yeah,
we
well,
have
it's
we have a quorum anyway, let's
Yeah.
just be safe. I don't.
All right, at a previous meeting, I had made a motion that where street trees are involved, I don't know if I still need to go through with this motion because we now have all this language in place, but my motion was that if it's a street tree involved, all commissioners must look at the tree and give an opinion, and it has to come to a vote. I made that motion, and Commissioner Sick seconded the motion. We did not take a vote on that motion. So I'd like to be able to take that vote now.
Okay, there's a motion on the table that street trees have to be approved by the entire commission at the next meeting.
Majority.
A majority, Jay.
Majority,
Of
yes.
the commission.
Not 100%, but a majority. We have 7 regular members and 2 alternate members. But, so we need 4 votes. We would need 4 votes on any commission meeting to remove the trees, whether we have 7 people here or 9 people here. Okay?
So we need to vote on that.
Yes.
Vote.
All those in favor of,
Wait a minute, can you repeat part of that? We're talking about next meeting, commissioners voting on
From
tree
here-
removal.
from here
And
on-
it has to be a majority, is that correct?
for a street tree.
To
If there's a dispute, if there's a
And-
and
dispute,
has to look at the tree.
You should-
But even in the case of a street tree, even before it would go to a dispute, if a street tree application comes in or a recommendation comes before there's any vote for yes or no, the entire commission should weigh in on that.
agreed, yeah,
That's the motion.
that makes sense.
And Commissioner Sick seconded the motion, so we need to do a vote.
There's a motion on the table and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, from here on out, any street tree has to get a majority approval by the Shade Tree Commission. Okay. And
That's a good one.
if the application goes through, gets passed by city council, any removals of trees on private property, you've got to get approval by the.
Right.
And this is removals.
Right.
Removals.
If a tree is denied, if a request for removal is denied, that's it, that stands by the commissioner. If it's approved, then it has to come before the whole board. We have one on the table from the last meeting at 717 Washington Street, just down the street here. That's in your district. Now, I agree, I looked at that. Well, it's the one trunk tree with a Y in the middle, and it's still a healthy tree. I agree with Carol Sick that the tree should be trimmed, but the tree should remain. It's an older tree, it's been, cherry tree, it's been there a long time.
No, it's a holly.
I think there's a street tree right in front of the house, and if you look at the house, the left part of that could be trimmed also to make more visibility for the porch there or whatever. But
we're
I think
dealing-
that tree should live out its life. I don't think it should.
Well, if you want to submit an application, if you want that street tree trimmed, submit an application to Connie to have Meniere's trim the street tree. But we're talking about the, what is it, a holly tree?
Yes.
On their front.
Holly
Yes.
tree in the yard, just to the left of the steps. Anybody have any comments? Okay, there's a motion on the table that's seconded to deny removal of that tree and make a suggestion that it be trimmed. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions?
I'll abstain on this one.
You abstain?
Yep.
Okay, why?
Because when I looked at the tree, from my perspective, it's rotted where that V is, where that double trunk, there's a lot of rot and decay. And I just thought if the homeowner, he said he was willing to plant another more viable tree, but if people are in favor of preserving that,
We
then,
suggest so the weight can be taken off that branch by trimming both sides of that tree.
okay, that's fine with,
Just a procedural matter here. Can we have a blanket motion here, or does each of these trees have to have individual motion and second.
All of these on the list? I think we're going to
Mr.
have,
Seelan, is it? I mean, can we do?
We could do this as a consent. We can do this as a consent agenda. We can vote on this all together if you'd like.
I'd like to remove the
Okay.
1313
Remove as
Cape May
is.
Avenue then.
Okay?
Good. Okay, so
So we're removing 1313 Cape May Avenue from the consent agenda. That will be voted on separately.
and I'd like to remove the 205 Howard Street.
okay.
205 Howard.
I was going to speak on that myself, the
Not yet.
204. Oh, sorry.
Not yet. Keep
So-
going, guys.
If this is okay to vote on together as a group, someone has to make a motion, and then somebody has to second it, and then we'll vote on it all together at once.
So, to make it clear, there have been 2 applications removed from the removal request, 205 Howard, 1313 Cape May.
And 717, we're not removing that.
You want to
Just-
remove 717 as well?
No, we're
Yeah.
not removing.
No,
We already
we
voted
already
on that.
voted on that.
Oh, that's right.
But, let me just, because there's certain things that I think need explanation on some of these requests.
Sure.
And so I don't know, I kind of think we should just vote on each one. I mean,
Yeah.
I think we should just not do a blanket
George, what-
thing at this point.
What are we talking about right now?
All these trees.
All these trees, removal and appeals and things like that.
You can do it quickly.
On the second page of today's,
I have it, it was just that you were doing one thing at 717 Washington Street, and then all of a sudden,
well, because,
follow through. Are we going to go down the list?
well, I think we should.
Not because,
I mean-
the next one is the one that you were that's my district.
I know.
And
Yeah.
I first denied it because you were the one who said it was an old, very, very old tree,
Mm-hmm.
and it looked healthy and everything, so I did not approve its removal.
Right.
Now, it's my understanding that it has been appealed, is that correct? By either the neighbor or something like that?
I-
I didn't get a full report on that.
I don't have any appeal. I don't know anything about an appeal. So should we go down the list?
Sure, so this is going to be a procedure. The chairman's going to read the application, 717 Washington Street, appeal of removal denied, sick. And then you need a motion,
And we
then you
did.
need a second. After the second, you can have a discussion about that. Once that discussion's closed, you go to the vote.
Okay.
Okay, that's
Okay.
fine.
Good.
So let's go down the list then and just get through this. 205 Howard Street.
Okay.
Oh, seven-
I need a motion and a second.
We did that.
717, correct?
Didn't we do it? Yeah, we did that.
So,
It was, everybody
Yeah.
approved it?
you're not going to do a motion for that one, but you are for the rest.
That is correct.
And George
I
Ator
abstained.
abstained.
Okay, 205 Howard Street. Barbara just described that tree. I looked at the tree. It is an old cottonwood. Ron Manier had spoken up about that tree at the last meeting. He said it had been pruned numerous times over the years. But it is a very large tree. It's not, it's leafing out when I looked at it. So I don't think it's in urgent, I understand cottonwood trees, sometimes the branches get softer and they can break, but any tree branches can break in a storm. I had suggested, because of the size of the tree, that all members of the commission, or as many as we can get, so that we can vote on it before approving that removal. And Barbara already denied it, so I would like to have that tree. Did everybody work on that? I mean,
I looked at it.
how many
I
of you?
saw it's big tree, but
Yeah, it's
So,
could it be trimmed? I don't know. I don't, I would.
well, we have to vote on whether we're going to approve this removal or not. I don't know
Howard
exactly.
Street?
Yeah. I don't know exactly how many members looked at the tree, but a number of us have. So we need a motion if we're going to approve that removal or not.
Okay, so the motion will be yes is,
Will be the
approve the
removal.
removal, no deny the removal. Keep it easy.
Okay, and we have to do it in a positive thing. So I'll make a motion that we approve the removal of this tree.
Okay. I'll second it.
Okay.
Okay, you heard who seconded?
I did.
George,
George did?
I made the first one.
Okay.
So call for a vote.
I call a vote on 205 Howard Street.
And-
All those in
and-
favor?
And to make it clear, a yes vote
Remove it.
remove it,
Remove it.
no vote, deny it.
Okay.
But it's still,
Okay, we're on
Do
it.
it.
And
Yeah.
now it's, if the
Yes,
discussion is
we'll
over,
move it.
it's time to have a
Time to have a vote.
Yeah.
We already made the motion. I made a motion to remove the tree, George
Okay,
seconded it.
There'll be a, because it's still a living tree, right? So it'll be a $75.
Well, we have to vote on it. Are we going to
Yes,
have,
but it would still be a $75 fee.
right.
Are we now voting on denying,
If we vote-
the removal of?
If we vote yes, it means removing the tree. If we vote no, it means we're preserving the tree.
Sorry?
If we vote yes, it means we're removing the tree. If we vote no, it means we're denying it the removal.
And that will be the way all these motions will
Right.
be structured
Okay.
on this
That
list.
should, yeah. This is just taking longer. It's the first time we're doing it at this
Yeah.
method, so, okay. So we need to vote on this.
All those in favor of removal of the tree signify by saying aye. All those who do not want to remove the tree signify by saying no.
No.
No,
No.
All right.
now we're moving.
No, here we go.
Here we go.
359 Congress Street, this is my district I looked at. It's a construction. There are currently 2 large trees on the property. They're identified improperly on the application. One is a large poplar and the other one is a spruce. They're in the footprint of, the approved footprint of the planting. The poplar has been pruned pretty severely over the years, but regardless, they will need, I'm going to give the, I have to give the approval because it's in the footprint, but they need to replace 2 trees, and the trees should come from recommendations from the board, because we're not going to allow two large trees to be taken down and have 2 crepe myrtles planted in there. We need to use our list of large trees that we recommend that they place on there. Okay?
Okay, so you'll make that as part of the vote.
Yes.
Which property are you talking about?
This is 359 Congress. Do I make the, I'll make a motion.
359
again.
Congress.
Make a motion again. I make a motion that 359 Congress, the removal of the 2 trees be approved with the condition that 2 large specimen trees from our approved list are planted on that property after construction is finished. I make that
Okay.
motion. Anybody second that motion?
I'll second.
Seconded by Carol.
All those, I'll call for a motion on it, I'll call for a vote on it. Aye is removal of the trees on a 2-for-1 basis, and no means the tree stays. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Denied signify saying no. Okay, any abstentions?
Okay, we're on a roll.
1102 Lafayette Street. Joel, that's your district.
Yeah, so I actually, I was able to call George earlier this week about the address, and we observed that this address actually previously asked to be, they asked for previous trees to be removed like 4 or 5 times, 4 or 5 other trees to be removed, and it's a continuous pattern. And we actually made an assessment that we're probably going to deny the tree for being removed again because we don't feel comfortable with them just taking advantage of the trees being removed constantly. Besides that, that's all the information we got
Okay.
with that tree.
This is, this property contains, I believe, 6 trees. It's the 1102 Lafayette Street location. And they had that's the one you're looking at now, Jay. The trees on the left side of the house, if you're facing the front of the house, are large locust trees. And the locust trees in town have been stressed because of the drought conditions over the last couple of years. But at this point, I don't see any reason to have more trees taken down at that property. There's 2 street trees that are still left there. And Carol York had written something that she looked at it, and she had thought there was a dead tree in the rear, but that's not even on their property.
No, it's the neighbor's property.
It's the neighbor's property, and It's not dead, it's just covered with vines again. So, I guess it's time to make a motion.
Do you want to make a motion to include the removal of vines so it doesn't kill the tree?
But it's not on this person's property.
Okay.
The tree with the vines is on the neighbor's property.
Okay, I'm sorry.
No, but I'd like to make that motion. Anyway, so for 1102 Lafayette Street, I'll put forth a motion that we allow the removal of all requested trees at that property.
How many trees?
You second it.
Well, we have to vote in a positive way, so we just discussed this. We said that they don't look to be in any, urgent need of removal.
So a yes vote is.
So a yes vote means to remove them, a no vote means to deny the approval.
Do you have a second, George?
No.
I second.
All those,
Well,
so I got a motion and a second. All those in favor of removing the trees signify by saying aye. Those who want to retain the trees retain the trees as there signify by saying no.
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 All right.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
1309 Maryland, we just discussed this.
Yes.
And I think we're going to have to
Go on. We
table
have to
that.
wait for Jason.
Right.
So that's tabled.
Yes, that's tabled.
Mm-hmm. Right.
223 Perry Street is my district. It's a large black pine at the rear of the property. You can see it from the parking lot of Collier's. It
Is
is,
that the one we visited?
yeah. It's a really large tree. And it was a beautiful canopy. They do have, they seem like they have taken care of it over the years. At this point, it's very brown. But we have had such severe drought conditions, I think that's impacting its health. And due to the size of the tree, and it does appear to have some new growth, I think it should be denied. And I did ask that other commission members look at this tree too because of it.
George, I had an opportunity to see that as well.
Okay.
And I concur with your assessment.
Oh, thank you.
Do I?
Okay. All right, so I'll make a motion that the tree at 223 Perry Street, after this discussion we just had, be removed. If we vote yes, it means we're removing the tree. We vote no, it means we're denying the removal. So I'll make a motion. Anybody want to second it?
I'll second it.
Carol, sick?
Is that you took a look at the tree is dead?
No, it's a large, very large pine. It's brown now, but I think that might have to do with the drought. I would recommend the homeowner get someone to treat it. It may need to be treated, but it does appear to have some new growth coming out. But we have to vote on this. So I make a motion that we approve the removal. And Carol, sick, seconded. So we have to call for a vote.
Okay, all those, that's to remove the tree, right?
Mm-hmm.
All those in favor of removing the tree at 223 Perry Street signify by saying aye. All those not in favor of removing the tree signify by saying no.
No. Okay, 729 Columbia.
That's my district. I wrote a letter to Connie and sent it that I looked at the tree, and the application actually never even said anything about the tree being unhealthy or in trouble or anything. The woman that was the applicant was complaining about the fact that raccoons had moved into the property and were taking residence underneath the tree, and therefore she wants to remove the tree. And I don't have to go much farther than that.
It's a very healthy tree.
It's
Right.
a large maple tree. It's a
Right.
beautiful
Been there for
tree.
years.
Yes, exactly.
Oh, leave it at that.
All right, so I make a motion to remove that tree at 729 Columbia. A yes vote means removal, nay means denial.
Second the motion?
All those in favor of removal of the tree at 729 Columbia Avenue because of raccoon infestation signify by saying aye.
Don't laugh.
All those who
Get appealed
vote
on.
no on removing the tree signify by saying no.
No. Okay.
So that's a new one.
Now that,
We've had all sorts of reasons to remove a tree. Pine cones and gutters.
Add that one to the list.
And pine
Wildlife.
needles, pine needles in
Screens.
and all that stuff, but not because it's a raccoon highway.
You know, I wrote back a little note or the back, if we had allowed this to happen, Cape May would be gone.
Yeah.
Because I can't tell you how many critters I have in my backyard.
Oh, I
I'm
know.
just a block away from that property.
I love when the possums come in. But
This next group of,
this next group are all street trees.
Okay.
Okay.
So, here, take it down. 1201 Ohio is a street tree removal that was Carol York responded to. I mean, that was her district, I should say.
Yeah, here it is. Here's what she said. Deny removal request, not the prettiest tree due to severe trimming. Ron Manier advises monitoring the tree's condition. Property has been under construction for at least a year, and tree by the driveway on their property was removed. But she's denying this one.
And I took a look at this property, too. It's the property up in the Village Green where they took half the twin down and built a new thing, so it's been under construction. It really does not even look all that stressed, in my opinion. So, I mean, it may have had to be pruned for wires or construction reasons, but it's certainly not in danger of anything like that.
It just doesn't look good
Yeah.
for them.
So I make a motion to remove the street tree at 1201 Ohio Avenue. Who would like to second that motion?
I second it.
Tracy.
Tracy? Okay.
Tracy.
Jay, want to call for a vote on that 1201
All right,
Ohio?
just I understand, this is a street tree, right?
Yes.
All those in favor of removing a street tree because of the reasons presented signify by saying aye. Those who deny the street tree signify by saying no.
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 So we're going to make a suggestion that Manier,
Monitor and trim, but it doesn't even need that
It
much
doesn't
trimming.
have to be trimmed anymore.
No, I don't think it
No,
needs to be trimmed.
Just leaf out.
Recover.
Recover.
Yeah. Okay, 808 Columbia Avenue.
That's also my
Mm-hmm.
district. I did comment in a letter.
Here's a picture.
Of the application for the fact
But it's
that
coming
the
back.
tree,
It was worse.
it's a hard call. And I did ask everybody to go and
I know
take
it
a look
doesn't
so
look
that
good. It's
we
coming
could
back.
all agree on it. The tree actually is in pretty bad shape. There's only 2 limbs coming out, one on one side, one on the other side, and nothing in the middle.
It's a maple.
Here it is. I don't know if you want to
Yeah.
see.
It's an Elwell property.
That one I would have.
oh,
Jay, do you have pictures of this tree?
no. But it's been trimmed. This is Elwell's.
I think I
This is a tree on Elwell's property, right? Bob
Right.
Elwell?
Bob Elwell.
Yeah.
This is the tree.
That's been trimmed a couple of times.
It was trimmed again recently.
Yes.
It had a severe pruning done to it, and I don't know who did it because
Yeah, but it's leafing out now.
it is leafing out.
okay.
So,
Oh,
at
it
this
looks
point,
better.
it's just,
Oh.
it's starting to
This is
leaf.
a more
it?
current picture, and it looks better.
Here,
So it's a lot better.
Okay, then.
we'll just,
So maybe, I don't know, I can't see.
we'll just send it down. We won't
Part of
make,
the
we won't look at
application
it.
also stated that they were.
Picture? The one,
Probably, it's probably before spring.
You know, to limbs falling.
the new picture looks better, that's kind of,
The relatively small. Oh, you want to trade?
Yeah, right?
Trade phones?
All right, I'll make a motion that we remove the tree at 808 Columbia Avenue.
Yeah, it does.
I think so, it's coming back.
Yeah, I changed my mind.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Yeah,
on that?
George,
I can second that.
Pardon?
I can second that.
Second for Barbara.
okay.
I got it.
Oh,
Thanks.
thank you. Jay, we need to call
All
for a
those
vote.
in favor of removing the tree on Columbia Avenue, 808 Columbia Avenue, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
No, it's coming.
Those who wish to remove the tree, retain the tree, signify by saying no.
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 Any abstentions?
It's
All
coming
right.
back nicely.
1312 Columbia Avenue. I got a text message from Frank Lukowski about this tree. It's a Bradford pear that broke in a storm.
I saw that.
1312 Maryland. I must have said Columbia.
I think there's a picture.
Maryland. 1312 Maryland Avenue. I took a look at it.
Deny removal.
There's less than half of the tree remaining.
Yeah.
And it is a Bradford pear. They're known for breakage. I don't know, how long it can survive in the condition that it's in. And I honestly, Bradford pears, so many communities are doing away with them anyway, and that one is severely damaged. So in my opinion, I'd rather have that removed and plant something else in that
Carol
tree line.
York,
It's the one on Maryland Avenue, right?
And would you, Carol Sick, would you be able to read Commissioner York's
Sure.
position?
She says, deny removal, remaining part of the tree bloomed and looks healthy. Would agree to removal if remaining tree is unstable, but that did not look to be the case. That's what she,
Okay, I don't know how many commission members have looked at this tree.
I
had-
looked at it. There's
Okay.
not much left.
I'll make a motion to remove that tree at 1312 Maryland Avenue.
Do I have a second?
had it.
Who wants to second that?
Oh.
George, do?
Can I ask a question, George?
Yeah.
Does your motion include replacing it, or should we put that down somewhere else? Like, write it down so we remember where we want to replace
Should
when we
be.
get trees?
It's a street tree, so we have the jurisdiction to replace there, so we should, yeah.
Do we
and
want to remember this? How do we remember that that's going to be a empty space for us?
Okay, let me rephrase the motion. Make a motion that we remove the street tree at 1312 Maryland Avenue with a replacement tree to be planted this year.
To be determined.
And seconded?
Okay, we have a motion on the table and seconded. Those who wish to remove the damaged street tree, Bradford pear on 1312, right? 1312 Maryland Avenue. Signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any retained the tree, signify by saying no.
No.
No. So let's count those votes.
Tell Connie who the no's
Roll
are.
call.
Tell Connie who the no's are.
Rose.
She could put in it.
Raise your hands for aye.
What's, to remove it?
Remove it. and
Remove it.
replace.
Okay. Those who wish to retain the tree, signify by raising your hand.
You have Carol, Barbara, Jim, Joelle.
So what do we got?
What do we do?
Draw straws.
Did everybody look at it?
I don't know if everyone
I'm
looked
going
at this
by
tree.
recommendations, I really do.
I think it's a split vote.
Well, we have
Well,
a tie vote.
Carol York said to deny it. She looked at it personally.
She's not here, though.
Well, yeah, but she still, that's not.
So I want
I would
everybody.
rather see a
I have a
replacement that's
question.
still
I
small.
mean, that's,
Do you think it's unstable?
I don't
would
think it's going to
change?
last.
Me
I really
neither.
don't. And that water's going to go right inside
That's what
what
I
little
said,
bit
and
of
it's
trunk
gonna
is
rot
left.
out.
And it's,
All right, I'll go.
Where if it's small enough, if we get it down now and put a new one in, we have a
I
new
don't
tree.
know.
Yeah.
It's healthy.
Let's hold a second here. We had,
Okay.
and this could be an easy one, because we had an alternate vote, and that alternate vote, actually, should be put in.
there should be only 7 votes.
Should only be 7 votes.
Okay, then I'm the alternate.
I'll step out.
Who's alternate 1 and who's alternate 2?
I don't know.
Who's alternate 1?
So where are we on? Where are we on this?
Better do it again.
Wait, just a second. Connie,
So Jim is the first alternate, and then Tracy, I think, is the second.
so we can have 7 votes. We cannot have more than 7 votes.
Oh, okay.
So Tracy, unfortunately, y'all can vote on this.
Okay, don't step out. Okay.
Okay, so we have
need
to redo
4
the
out.
vote. Same motion sits on the table, and we need to do a new vote for the removal of the street tree at 1312 Maryland.
With who can't vote? Who's the new commissioner?
Tracy.
Tracy?
One.
And-
How about Jim?
He can, because we,
Yeah. How about,
yeah, he can vote because
He's a regular member.
Carol York is out.
okay. All those in favor of removal of the tree, those who can't vote, signify by saying, raising your hands.
I'll do
It's a
it,
yes
'cause
vote
it's- It was
to
rotted
remove.
out. If you say
So
it's
All
4.
those for saving the tree, signify by raising your hands.
so it's going to.
Jim, you can.
Jim, you can vote.
Oh, I
Okay,
can
then
vote, okay.
trees
So it's 4 to
allowed to be
3.
removed
Okay, with the replacement. Okay.
with a replacement, yeah.
That was 1209 Maryland.
That's a goof.
That was 1312. 1209 Maryland. I don't know if anybody got a chance to look at 1209 Maryland. The tree is dead.
I did, but I'm the alternate, so I can't. It's tiny, too. You can speak. Okay, I can speak. It's a
The
very-
tree at 1209 Maryland is completely dead, and it's a small tree. It hasn't been there very long.
The drought problem.
So we can probably get another tree in there if we do a planting, which is what I'd like to see done.
How did you
I
get?
believe it's a maple
Oh, it's like this.
or a cherry. That
Oh,
might be a
cool.
cherry.
Okay. I was like,
Now that I-
some kind of, I thought it was like some.
All right, I'll make a motion to remove the dead tree at 1209 Maryland, and I actually think this is small enough, and this is what we're going to have to discuss, too. Some of these trees are rather small that are dead. What is our status with Public Works? The representative isn't here. Can we still submit a list of what we think they can do for tree removals? Or,
I can't interfere with day-to-day business of city employees, so you can make the vote on yourself, and then Connie can.
oh, I have several. So I'll have Connie send them a letter and
Send them a letter.
send an email. Okay. So I make a motion that we remove the dead street tree at 1209 Maryland and replace another tree.
Second.
All those in favor of removing the dead tree at 1209 Maryland signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right.
1313 Cape May Avenue, that was, we were talking
I
about
was,
that one.
I observed the tree, and I spoke to the homeowner. Very nice guy. He said, like in this ending message, if removal is denied, requesting that all dead branches be removed. I think if you take away those dead branches, the energy will return back to the tree. It's slow leafing, but it's a, I think it's going to.
So it's your recommendation to
Yeah,
retain
that's-
the tree?
Please.
Okay.
Move it.
Okay, so we have to vote on its removal. I'll make a motion to remove the tree at 1313 Cape May Avenue.
Second it.
May I ask a question?
Yes.
Will we be contacting Public Works to remove this tree, or to trim this tree?
The 1209,
Is that part of the,
1209.
Whose district is that?
excuse me, I'm sorry, I'm ahead of the game.
To be
yeah,
honest with you, I thought it was mine. I have the easterly part of Cape May Avenue. This was the westerly part.
for you.
But it was my pleasure to
It's a,
serve.
it's a freebie.
So are we talking about 1313 or 1209?
Call for a vote.
we're voting at 13, we already voted at 1209.
Okay, so.
Yeah. 1313 Cape May Avenue.
And so part of the motion is to have it trimmed as well? That was my question.
So a yes vote?
George, yes.
Remove.
Remove and, no. A yes vote would be to remove the tree. A no vote would
Preserve the tree.
preserve and refer it for trimming.
The tree starting to
Preserve
look
and trim.
out
It is, yes, it is. Throughout the entire of its,
Canopy.
yes.
Okay, I make a motion to remove that tree at 1313 Cape May Avenue.
All those in favor?
Wait a minute, we need a second.
Second.
Do I have a
Okay.
second?
Yep,
Second.
Who seconded?
Joel.
Doesn't matter.
Joel?
Well,
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
for removal?
For removal? All those not for removal of the tree, see how it significantly leaves out this year? Signify by saying aye.
No.
By saying no.
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 No. All right.
Okay, now,
We've had the city manager report. Councilman Meyer can give us a council report.
Council report, I guess, first, we're going to talk about the Tree of Heaven.
If I can interject, if anyone hasn't seen this handout that Councilman Meyer put together, there's a whole pile of them. George, you want to pass that around?
Sure.
There's a whole pile of them in the lobby area here, and Shane, that's a great job, it really is.
It was a good job, Shane.
Thank you, George. So we put these, as you know, in the water bills. We have not received any contact from anybody that may have a Tree of Heaven in their yard. We're just letting people know, please call the Shade Tree Commission office. Let us know. We want to be able to help pay for it with you. We got a $20,000 grant. But to go on the same tangent, the mayor did send me a photograph of a Tree of Heaven in the dunes across the street from the block between Perry and Jackson.
okay.
So I'm going to go looking for that after
Yeah.
this.
Wow.
I have a question about that, though. I don't know, do we have jurisdiction over that, because that is,
Well, it's an invasive species, and I think it's acknowledged by the state.
That we can-
If you don't know, the state dictates what we can and can't do with that
Right.
piece of property.
The state's given us $20,000 to get rid of
They
it.
gave us $20,000, so whether we need a permit for it, I don't think we do. The
It's a good question.
city had removed some trees by the beach tag office already, and I don't think they had to go through that process.
Okay.
And I don't think that will come out of our grant money, because I think the Public Works will be the ones to do that. So, that's all I have on Tree of Heaven. I was going to talk about the sidewalk program, but I figured the manager had better wrangle on that.
Landmark trees. for
Landmark
Georgia
trees.
Tour.
Landmark tree.
At the subcommittee meeting, we discussed a reason to establish a listing of landmark trees. So landmark trees are not only, they're usually large trees. In the past, we had,
But they could be a good example of an exotic tree.
right, but they also could be a unique species, a species that's not normally seen in Cape May and is a significant tree and stands out as a landmark. Case in point is a weeping cherry tree on Vermont.
Vernon.
Mount Vernon, thank you. Mount Vernon Avenue.
My
It's a
favorite.
beautiful tree.
My
It-
favorite tree.
Yeah. And it's not, it's not 100 years old, but it is an older tree established, and its unique branching structure makes that a candidate to be a landmark tree. So what we discussed at the meeting was to identify these trees. How to go about identifying them would be, some of them can be seen from the streets. We suggested then that if we think we see a landmark tree or what might qualify, a letter would be sent to the homeowner asking for permission to access the property. But I think we should probably establish
Bless you.
like a little letter saying what we consider landmark trees to go out to the homeowner.
criteria.
The criteria of these landmark trees.
You want me to take a shot at?
Sure. If you would, that would be great.
Will do.
And then with that, it would give an extra layer of protection to these trees. Not only would the tree would normally have to come before the board, but when it's a landmark tree, we should take extra steps for its preservation because of its uniqueness. We had a list of these trees at one time, but many of those trees are now gone. The large beech trees that were on Washington Street, 2 of them are gone. We don't have any beech trees on public property anymore,
The one
or even
across the
private.
Physic Estate, the Copper Beach, yeah.
Yeah.
There was another one.
At
there
the
was
Webster
another one
House.
Taken down after much trimming and whatnot at the corner of Washington Street and Madison
Right.
Avenue.
Webster.
That was another Copper Beach tree. It was only 2/3 the size of the one on Washington Street, but that kept trimming that till it was a totem pole, and they finally had to take it down. And then 2 years later, we lost the one on Washington Street. But that was a significant
Yeah.
tree.
So
That
that's,
was in the middle of a lot, a buildable lot. So the lot was less valuable. There was no way they could put a house in there and preserve that tree.
a shame.
The guy who was championing the tree, husband and wife team who owned several properties right there, he unfortunately died. And then the wife came here and we gave her approval for $25 to take the tree down and to put a house up. So let's, but by the next meeting, make an effort to go in your district and look at any large trees, 18 inches or more in diameter, or an unusual species.
I would make a suggestion, just take a photograph of it, email it to the Shade Tree Commission, and put in the subject, landmark tree, so we can get a list started. And I think we can get them printed out, and we can all take a look at it, and we move on from there. If you want anything from city council to create an ordinance to help us protect those trees, we can do that too.
okay.
Because I have my tree in mind, my favorite tree in town.
You have one?
I have one. It's, you come across the Wawa and you cross the street and you make a left right there. There's like a really cool Japanese tree with these arms that just stretch out like 23 feet. It's really cool.
That's cool. It must be a
One
cedar.
last topic for today, the Memorial Tree Program. We are going to have a Memorial Tree Program. The city would like us to kick off our Memorial Tree Program in conjunction with the Promenade Park Bench Program. Shane, I've been told that would be on or about September, is that?
That's correct.
Is that what we hear?
That's correct. We're going to start removing, we do want to have in conjunction with the new bench program. We haven't come up with a price yet, so that's basically the one thing we're waiting for
On the park bench?
on the trees. We need to come up,
Trees, it was suggested 1750,
is that right? So either way, they're not going to,
which is the cost for the park bench.
right, we're not drafting, and we're not introducing this ordinance until after summer, so that's why we have to wait. Go ahead.
No, this is an extra thing.
Yeah.
It's only 1 minute. This is about Arbor Day, and we did nothing, basically. So I contacted a woman at the Cape May County Library and Courthouse, and she's going to order 2 books from us, donated by us. She'll make a book plate and give them to the Cape May City Library. And
The Cape May City Library.
City Library, but it has to go through courthouse to get cataloged and
Right.
whatever. The trees are Be Thankful for Trees, and If I Were a Tree.
Oh.
So when they're in the library, I'll let you know, and if you ever want to look at them, it's fine. It'll be elementary school books. But I thought it looked good we did something.
Yes.
So,
We did,
Now
yeah.
have-
We attempted to do more. It just.
I know,
it-
we- George can tell you,
yeah,
the school did
the
not
school
really
wasn't.
receptive, wasn't very
It
receptive.
was a conflict of calendars and whatnot in the public library, too.
It's unfortunate.
I mean,
That would be really.
we mentioned about going over to read to the students at the public library, and that was not
I'm
received
open
either.
for suggestions on what event we can create, or what event we can participate in for Arbor Day. Reading a book or two to first, second, third grade is not a likely event. Before, the school used to do a large dog and pony show, and tie it to recycling or Earth Day, and it was very worthwhile because the whole K through 6 school was there. And that was very, very worthwhile for the Shade Tree Commission to partner in that.
I remember that.
Done that for the past 2 years since the new principal got in there, principals and district manager got in there. So any event we can partner with, let us know. West Cape May seems to have a successful thing on giving away
Trees.
trees.
That's what I
Little
So that's something, that's something that we can look into also for next year. Where do they get these trees? And if we can get a show going on either.
I think we
We could
gave
always-
away a tree, didn't we? We all planted
We've
it.
never.
Yeah.
It never
One-
grew.
One
We
year-
planted one at the school,
one
but then they
year,
didn't want.
We gave away small pine saplings, white pine,
we
or I
Planted.
forget what type of pine, but little saplings.
They were
at the
lots long
elementary
ago.
school. And I can guarantee you that 80% of those trees never made it home. And the 20% that made it home, 1% probably got planted. And 0% made it to maturity because it got run over by a lawnmower.
And there'll also be opportunities
This, you'll
to
take-
plant a tree at the Lafayette Street Park because it is, right next door to the school. It's going to have a multi-purpose use.
Yeah.
I have one more thing for the good of the order, if I may. It has to do with the memorial trees at Harborview Park. We got a grant to redo that park from the county, and as part of the plan, they're going to save and catalog all the
Memorial.
memorial trees.
Oh, that's good.
So,
Harborview Park or Cape May Avenue?
Didn't she take that?
Harborview Park.
You're going to plant
I think
memorial
that's-
trees
I
at
don't think you
Harborview?
have
Everything?
this.
We're going to redo the park.
I know mine.
The trees, the memorial trees that are there are going to be cataloged and saved.
This Shane made up. This was-
There's
Going
two or-
back,
There's 2 or 3 plaques at Harborview Park at the present time. They're pretty well overgrown, but they're still there.
but they're there. Just one other thing, housekeeping on the Memorial Tree Program. If you get any calls, email me and give me I'm making a list of the names of people who are inquiring about them. So if you get a call about it or somebody stops you on the street, you all have my email address from the list that Connie gave us earlier. And I'll-
A call about a tree removal? A call about tree
On-
removal,
On
or?
the memorial tree.
Oh, okay.
I'm done.
I have one thing I want to talk about quickly. We have, at one time, probably about 15 years ago, when we were planting trees, we planted 3 American ash trees. Now, the emerald ash borer has taken down one of them already that was on Windsor Avenue in the 300 block several years ago. There's another large one right now at 1209 Washington Street, which is severely affected, and then there's one on Lafayette Street that's perfectly healthy. So I kind of think that we should think about removing that tree so as to prevent the spread of that emerald ash borer. But I have a whole list of addresses here with street trees and all, but not to lengthen this meeting any further. I'll email this list to Connie for us for the next meeting for the commission to go out and take a look at some of these trees. And if we do see small trees that are completely dead, I think maybe we should have a way of marking them so we know, like, for example, at the one address on Washington Street, there's 3 trees in a row. We want to make sure the commission is reviewing the proper tree. So either tying the construction ribbon tape or pink tape or, whatever on it so that we know what tree to look at. I think that each district commissioner should do that. And that's my suggestion.
That's a good idea.
So,
Well, I want to thank you all for putting up with this lengthy meeting. Hopefully, since we got the whole inventory, whatnot, of approvals and denials here, the next time we won't have as many to deal with. But I want to thank you for your patience and for your endurance and whatnot. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I second.
Do I have a second?
sure.
Who?
Two trees on my property, they were, renting. They were deceased, a tree, for so many years. And finally, the tree doctor came and said, I can't have it come down. But when they came down, I wanted 2 more trees put in there on my property, on the curb.
Yeah.
They
Was this on Washington Street?
No, she doesn't live in New York.
Oh,
She's in
okay.
New Jersey.
Okay.
She just.
Oh, you're not here. Oh.
And they said that they could not dig to put 2 more new trees in. So how are you taking out all these trees and putting in new trees? You've got to go down to the roots.
Well, you have to grind the stump, and sometimes you have to wait a couple years before you can do it. But eventually, you can plant there again.
Because
You know.
Kay May knows how to do it.
She knows how to do it.
Oh, okay, I can follow.
I have a motion on the table to adjourn. I have a second?
Second.
Second by Barbara.
Who made the motion?
Aye. Thank you.
Aye.
Thank you very much. We are adjourned.
Yeah, but we had to have this meeting.